Hi, sorry, magandang gabi. Ako po si Trixie Cruz-Angeles. Ito po ang Luminous. So today we saw marathon hearings. We saw marathon hearings. Oh, not hearings, sorry. We had marami sa atin nag-marathon na pakikinig ng mga interview ni BBM. Uh, okay na ba? No video, no audio. Hello, ayun, lights on. Sorry, medyo na-delay po. Na-delay lang po, saglit lang. Sorry po. Alright. So, today, marami sa atin ay nag-marathon ng pakikinig sa major interviews ni BBM at nakita natin yung DZRH interview at saka yung interview ni Boy Abunda, and both he seemed to do very well in both, and he seems to be consistent. China, yung foreign policy niya, particularly looking at China and the US and the balancing act about that, nakikita natin yung how he deals with how his outlook, parang kumbaga yung philosophy niya that he's more for productive government, moving forward parate. Uh, Hindi natin fino-focus lahat ng energies natin just trying to catch each other, no? Pero more like work, work, work. And in the meantime, if merong mga tiwali dyan, then of course, kailangan imbestigahan yung mga yon. His policy, well, I'm not sure if I heard anything on agriculture today. So, which parts do you think you liked about yung mga interview niya ngayon? We know, we can anticipate, halimbawa, ako, ina-anticipate ko na, looking at yung mga criticism dun sa ibang mga interview niya, magsisentro sila sa mga detalye. Kasi sa ngayon, hindi pa nila ma-digest yung plataforma ni BBM. And ito pa, he is possibly the most watched candidate, of course kasi leading siya, so therefore yung porsyento ng nanonood mataas, no? So, he's the most watched candidate, at para sa akin, dahil marami parating nanonood sa kanya at consistent yung mga audiences, his platform at yung outlook niya ang pinaka napapag-aralan o nakikita ng taong bayan. Ang nakikita natin on social media, parating sinasabi ng mga tao, walang nagawa si Lenny or hindi maliwanag or hindi malinaw kung ano yung plataforma niya. Tinitignan ko yung website niya, and meron naman siyang how do you call this? Parang vision. I mean, let's be fair. Meron naman siyang vision at nakikita natin yun. Nandun yun sa website. The problem is, hindi niya ma-articulate orally, katulad ng ganito sa interview ni BBM. Pag lumalabas kasi si Madam Lenny, halimbawa, so far, ang basis natin dito ay yung interview with Jessica Soho, medyo walang depth si Madam. Sasabihin na naman, and just bashing her, but that's for me observable fact. Wala siyang depth. Walang masyadong, kung magsalita, there's nothing wrong with very basic logic, but ano walang challenge Parang you're expecting this person to have the intellectual capacity to lead the nation, pero pag nagsasalita siya, masyadong basic. I was going to say something meaner, kaya lang baka ma-distract kayo. Ma'am Sunaida Walton, maraming salamat po. Kayo, ano yung favorite topic nyo na diniscuss niya? Eto, sabi ni Ma'am G, naawa po ako kay BBM kasi hinihingal na siya kasi nakamask at tuloy-tuloy magsalita. Hindi lang yon, dun sa DZRH interview, nakatayo pa po siya. So, yun, nabanggit na yung stand niya on the ICC. Okay. Yan, consistent siya kasi several times na siyang natanungan tungkol dito sa ICC, at more or less pare-pareho yung sagot niya. Tinanong siya, papapasukin niyo ba ang ICC dito pursuant nga dun sa kinakaso on the drug war? Ang sabi niya, pwede naman silang pumasok dito. I suppose he's referring dun sa sa mga how do you call this? He's referring to biglang may pumasok kasi na message. He's referring to the investigators. So, ang sabi niya, pwede naman silang pumasok, turista nga lang. In other words, ang sinasabi niya dito, oh, punta sila dito sa Pilipinas, pero not in an official capacity. Hindi sila papasok dito para mag-imbestiga, hindi sila papasok dito para mag-aresto or anything like that, anything pertaining to the case. Kasi para sa kanya, mauuna ang soberanya. So, ang sinasabi niya kasi is, kung working ang courts, ang jurisdiction ay dito sa Pilipinas. So, tama siya doon kasi at least may understanding siya of how this works. So, hindi natin siniside yung ating sovereignty kapag tayo ang nag-tackle o nagtalakay o nag-address doon sa issue ng drug war. Kung may iniimbestigahan ba yung mga tinatawag natin state agents o yung mga police dito, kung iniimbestigahan ba sila to adhere to human rights, no? To respect human rights. At pag sila ay taliwas dito and they are committing crimes, then they should be answerable to the law. So marami naman daw po, in fact, the DOJ already took that into consideration. They started their investigations. They have concluded many of them. Marami nang natanggal, marami nang nakasuhan, administratiba at saka kriminal, and they continue to handle or monitor these cases. So, gusto ko yung panig ni BBM na hindi kasi in any case, no matter what country it is, ang una mong ina-assert yung soberanya mo. Sasabihin ng bansa, teka muna, bago ko kayo papasukin, kailangan may patunay na wine-waive namin yung soberanya namin under the Rome Statute dahil kami mismo, we did not tackle that issue. So tama yung pagkakaintindi niya, tsaka consistent so far yung stand niya. Tapos sabi ni Cheryl Samalo, natuwa-tuwa ako makita na si BBM is di lang basta talaga sagot, he's very honest, hindi niya alam yung subject, not hesitant to ask what is a narco country, di tulad ng iba, basta makasagot lang. Well, kasi, tama yun kasi tatanungin niya talaga ano ba yung narco country, o kaya sabihin niya, how do you define this? Kasi minsan, meron ng judgment dun sa tanong. So pag sinabi mo kasing how do you keep from turning into a narco country, are we a narco country, or whatever the question was, minsan kasi yung pag-define nung nagtatanong, parang may judgment na doon. So kailangan liwanagin niya, which is a very good approach. You don't walk into a question like that. Ito. Sabi ni Ma'am Luan Yang Alfonso, hi, big fan. Iniintay ko sa mga interviews ang stand ni BBM sa foreign direct investments. Parang hindi pa siya natatanong, may idea ka ba dun sa stand niya? No, we'll just have to wait for him to answer that question directly. Although he is very pro-revitalizing the economy. Kapag health ang pinag-uusapan, consistent din siya. Ang tinatanong siya, paano mo lulutasin yung COVID? Paano mo ipapabangunin ng Pilipinas after COVID and so on? Consistent siya. Sinasabi niya, the only thing that we can do to get back is to revitalize the economy. So para sa kanya, kailangan buhayin natin yung mga businesses and people have to go back to work. So ako, I like that stand. And also, I've noticed na consistent siya with that. Sabi ni Jerome Neri Santos Gabriel Mariano, Boy Abunda is not even a journalist like Jessica Soho, but he's doing his job finer than those who call themselves award-winning news anchors or journalists. I do. Actually, I have been interviewed by Boy Abunda before, and I find that he studies. He always knows the topic beforehand. He prepares for his questions. He's even prepared for whatever your answer is. So when it comes to Boy Abunda, I'm never dismissive. I know that he always prepares. And di ba dati nasa kanya, Mike Lopez used to work with him, and I got an earful about how good this person prepares, how well he prepares. Ito, sabi ni Aris Moralia Refugia, ayaw na ma-open yung ibang video ni BBM sa interview ni Boy Abunda. It might be because the sites are crashing or high yung traffic, so hindi lang tayo makasingit. It happens. Sabi ni Sher, ay, nabasa ko na pala. Sabi ni Pusod Nation, I'm sorry, I didn't really pay that much attention sa interview niya. I might watch it again today because I was busy doing the screenshot of the number of live viewers. Grabe kayo. Well, I appreciate your sentiments though. Ito, sabi ni Xiao Su, very impressed with Marcos Jr.'s interview, very rational and tangible. Of course, I know he'll do well, but he exceeded my expectations to the far reaches of the galaxy. Nice. Everything displayed his brilliance, but his answers on abortion, South China Sea, and ICC were my favorites. For instance, the abortion issue is a very controversial one, and he answered intelligently and progressively. As a woman, my respect for this man magnified thousandfold. Could somebody tell me, I may have missed that one on abortion? Could somebody tell me what his stand was on abortion? I really would like to hear it. Can you put it in the comment section? It would be very interesting. Um, Let me see. Sabi ni Aurea Torres, gusto ko yung ibalik or buhayin niya yung kadiwa. In doing so, maiwasan ang third, fourth sellers. So from farm to market talaga murang bihilihin. I think that maganda yung idea niya because he visualized an entire system pagdating dun sa agriculture. Pero when we were also asking about him before dun sa mga local governments, and I noticed that he's very consistent din dito sa mga sagot niya, is that the problem is that when the local government code was implemented and then is constantly updated, maraming dinidevolve na duties sa mga local governments pero hindi na didevolve yung budget. So, and what happened also there was na fracture yung entire system ng agriculture. So, nagiging LGU-based yung mga plano, yung mga suporta and all that. So, not only nawalan sila ng budget, but also nawalan ng sistema. So, what he wants to do is, of course, respect pa rin the local governments, but create a national plan. So, he was talking about the Mandanas ruling before and nakikita ko consistent pa rin yung stand niya. Hina-harmonize niya yung stand niya on the Mandanas ruling to include na rin our agriculture. So, it will be a national plan, especially when it comes to agriculture, pero implemented by the local governments, and now that they have enough money, they can implement it fully. Galing, na? He did well when the panel pressed on the martial law topic and if he will also implement it. He answered it with composure and no trembling. I didn't expect any trembling, by the way. But yeah, I think that he has, he met it head on. Why, martial law is a tool of the state and he is correct in that one. So pagka may gera, wala ka naman choice, magma-martial law ka talaga. So yes, I like that one because he also had an understanding of martial law under the 1987 Constitution, which is completely different, of course, from the martial law that President Ferdinand Sr. had to implement. Remember that Juan Ponce Enrile, Senator Enrile, at the time Secretary of Defense Enrile, was the one who formulated martial law. But he had to do the research first, if it was possible. And then what he came up with that is that this is a basic tool for the state to defend itself. In times of lawlessness, invasion, and so on. And all of that is written in the 87 Constitution. So, maganda yan. Sabi ni Ian, going at geek by Ian, sabi niya, straightforward answer on what is bias. Anti-Marcos. Cool. Yeah. Jao Matias says, tanong ko lang ba't ganun kulang ang 5 minutes kay BBM? Hindi niya ma-contain in just 5 minutes yung sasabihin niya. Well, because he has a lot to say, which actually, that's better where you have a lot to say and you're not able to finish. Pero marami ka pa, kumbaga, hindi ka nga natapos, pero yung mga nasabi mo na, malaman. Kaysa naman yung 5 minutes nga, pero wala kang masabi dun sa 5 minutes na yun. So, I think it's still a good thing. Sabi ni Jojo Ignacio, Mr. Cool, BBM, kapag walang ibang agenda talaga ang host, smooth na smooth ang flow ng discussion. Ito ba yung hinahanap mong platform ni BBM? Focus lang siya sa solution and take note, wala kang naririnig narinig na paninisi at paninira sa kakulangan ng gobyerno. BBM Sara. Yes. Well, yes, I like that idea also that he seems more focused on what can be done and less on blaming other people for it, which is nice. I think he's changing the language of campaigning. Dati kasi, yun yung kampanya eh. Paglalaban ko kayo, parating ganyan, politicians will say that, paglalaban ko kayo, kasi yung mga katulad ng, halimbawa, itong administrasyon na to, na ganito ang ginawa sa inyo, inapi kayo, and so on. And ganun parati yung language ng elections. And it's not just boring, it doesn't really say anything. Pero dito, he's clear about his stand on certain issues, consistent, and pag binatuhan mo siya, I think a general rule, about 80-90% of the time, he does have something to say and has a ready plan. In some, he's still formulating it. Nakikita mo na nag-iisip siya habang nagsasalita. At which I like kasi that means he's thinking on his feet. But there's some talaga that still surprise him, which I'm glad because nobody can claim that they know everything or that they have prepared for every eventuality of the governance, assuming that they win. Okay. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina Remotiga, consistent din siya tungkol dun sa South China Sea issue. Yes, I agree. When it comes to the arbitral decision, hindi siya, kumbaga, for him, it's still a balancing act. It's still about the foreign policy where you balance your interests with China and your relationship with China, and at the same time, make sure you maintain your good relations with the United States. So, because that's how it's being cast also. May nagtanong sa kanya, are you willing for joint exploration, di ba? In the South China Sea, tama ba ako kung sa pag-aalala ko? A joint exploration. Sabi niya, yeah, because it costs a lot of money. This is very expensive. And the government alone cannot undertake that. Therefore, yeah, it's welcome. Para pa-exploit, he takes into consideration malampaya, mauubos na daw malampaya. It has at best how many more years to go. So talagang kailangan na to undertake joint exploration. And joint exploration is a good compromise kasi nga mahal yan. Di kakayanin ng gobyerno alone. Ma'am Sheila, pala, maraming salamat po. Sabi ni Hi, I've seen many interviews, parang pong need mag-work together si Lacson and BBM. What they have said both in Boy Abunda is very possible and can fill in the gaps of our current system. Could you be more specific? I'd like to hear your ideas on that. Ito, sabi ni Ian, favorite topic on tourism was one of the industries to tap upon economic recovery. Congrats, Luminous, for 75,000 sub on YouTube. Road to 80K next. Actually, dumami din pala yung Facebook. I didn't notice. We're almost at 380,000. Not bad, no? Ayan. So, tourism as one of the industries to tap economic recovery. Yes, it's been consistent both, even in the interviews that we conducted. It's one of the best machineries to drive the economy. So, before pa nga, and he has kumbaga, plan A is to stimulate local tourism before and until we are ready or the world is ready for international tourism. But kumbaga, in the meantime, tara muna tayo. Let's be allowed to travel. Being allowed to travel locally also means that people get to go back to work because there are a lot of people in the tourism industry as well. Ito, sabi ni Cheryl, natutuwa na makita na si BBM Mista. Nabasa ko na pala to. Not hesitant to ask. Di tulad ng iba, yeah. Sabi ni DMT na po na ako sa interview ni Tito Boy, counted sa time pag may follow-up question siya. I agree. Pati yung question na himself, minsan mahaba, so nauubusan ng oras si BBM. But in general, I think Boy Abunda did manage the time well, and I like the idea that there it's time pressure din candidate, so forced to organize yung thoughts. Sabi ni Swade, on abortion, he was never interviewed on such a sensitive but important question. Reality lang. Yeah, I haven't seen it. I thought I missed it, but somebody here says na meron eh. So I'm waiting for the details on that one, assuming that meron nga. Ano to? Sabi ni Bernarda Espinosa, pag inslok inaalok ka ni BBM, nabigyan ka ng posisyon para makatulong ka sa ikabubuti ng bayan at yung talino mo ay mapakinabangan na sa pagtakbo ng government to serve fellow Filipinos. Do you accept it? I hope so. Well, first, I'd like to establish the fact that you can help your country without being in government. I think we should cross that bridge if it happens. I really don't think so, but uh, for me, that if I'm called to the service of my country, I will serve. But I don't necessarily have to serve in government, diba? I can be asked to do stuff for government even while remaining in the private sector. So, yun lang. I really don't think that I would be. So, eto, di kaya mangopya ng sagot si Lenny. Grabe naman kayo kay Lenny. Di kaya mangopya ng sagot si Lenny at tinuturuan na siya ngayon ng mga coach niya kung ano ang isasagot niya kung same question din ang itatanong sa kanya. Well, let's put it this way. Yung manner tsaka yung mga sinasagot ni BBM has raised the standard, raised the bar. Nung tumatakbo sila kasing vice president, para kay Lenny, enough na yung magsabi siya na the last man standing is a woman, di ba? And now you can no longer get away with sound bites. You really have to come up with solid answers to serious questions. Ma'am Christina says when he was asked about why the other candidates shouldn't be elected, and he said he doesn't want to engage in negative campaign. But he said that none of the other candidates talk about unity. That's what I like also. Only the Uni team really talks about unity. So they don't work on bashing the other candidates. Tayo yung gumagawa nun. Uh, anyway, but the other candidates do. It's their style. And ako, I cannot fault them because that is the style that they are comfortable with. Yun yung alam nila. Pero gusto ko yung stand ni na BBM at Inday na it's more of a positive campaigning. And I think dahil nga in the lead sila, they're changing the language of campaigning. Hindi na yung mga I will fight for you, paglalabang ko kayo. Wala na akong naririnig masyado na gano'n. Ang sinasabi nila, this is what we're going to do. We need to do this. We have to address this. So, in the meantime, yung iba, di naman ako anak ng presidente. Ganun. No offense kay Isko. I think that's really, it's a campaign strategy for him to point out that some people are born into position or to raise the boogeyman of political dynasties. So, yun, like I said, to be fair with Lenny, if you look at her website, okay naman, you see a vision, not sure yet about the plans, not convinced, but she does have a platform. It's the problem is she's unable to articulate it in any of her. Well, so far I've only seen one, and I haven't seen her articulate that very well. Hi kay Ma'am Luan. Ito yung foreign direct investments. Ma'am, nabasa ko kanina. Sabi niya, I'm a big fan. Hinihintay ko sa mga interviews in stand ni BBM sa foreign direct investments. Parang hindi pa siya nagtatanong. May idea ka sa stand niya. Wala pa po eh. Kasi you're right, I haven't heard anything yet on that one. Maybe I missed it. Sabi ni Kian, can you please try to ask BBM? Well, if I do have another opportunity to interview him, then yes, I can ask these things. If he has any intention to take over Manila Water and or Meralco if they continue to increase their prices. Yeah, sige, we can ask that. I'm not going to presume that I know what his answer is going to be. Eto, sabi ni Ma'am Janina, I like his answer on Boy Abunda's question on presidential qualifications. Very inclusive, yet at the same time is concrete answer on how to improve the quality of candidates in the Philippines. Yeah. Ito yung why not vote for the other candidates? Ma'am Sherry, paano ba niya sinagot? Tell me exactly. Sabi ni Going Av Geek pa Ian, napansin ko no media outlet asked about culture and even history. That's why Luminous interview stood out as one of the best BBM interviews. Still can't get enough shared consciousness. I know, and the bashers are belittling it. Okay. Somebody said, called me a pseudo historian. Okay, sure, but you cannot call me not an archaeologist. Eto, sabi ni Arturo, familiar. Good evening. I've seen the interview of BBM with DZRH and how the panel asked real questions and hypothetical questions to BBM. It makes Jessica Soho an amateur or no class interviewer at all. I think that yeah, it seemed masyadong circusy yung pagpresenta dun sa kay Jessica Soho. But I think, kanya-kanyang style 'yan. You're right though. The serious, the heavy-hitting questions were asked by the other journalists, and I think Miss Soho concentrated yung sa mga one-on-one questions, and she really limited her so-called hard-hitting questions to just one or two per candidate. Even then, it wasn't so hard-hitting, particularly when it came to Lenny. Yung sinasabi niya kay Lenny is, di ba, paano ko mag-react dun sa mga hindi sang-ayon sa pamamahagi mo ng lugaw? Consistent din si BBM dito. I like his stand of having a separate public transport for non-vax persons. Yeah. And he has been consistent and sinasabi niya parati na hindi tayo magpipilit. Hindi ka naman talaga pwede mamilit na mag-vaccinate ang mga tao, pero you do have to keep them away from each other. He agrees in principle with the no vax, no ride, but the implementation he disagrees with kasi medyo magulo. So I've heard this answer several times. Consistent pa rin, almost exactly worded in every venue. I like his answer. Sa po lahat ng answers ni BBM kay Boy, pati sa DZRH, oh my God, makita mo talaga na may wisdom siya. Cool na cool. BBM na talaga ako. Galing sumagot. Guys, hindi ko narinig yung sa abortion. I really would like for somebody to articulate what he said here. Ito sabi ni Christian Eric Bulañer, I like his take on social issues such as abortion, social media, and pornography. Yung freedom to choose, very conservative type. Social media, yeah. When Lenius asked what she did to alleviate the suffering of her poverty-stricken province, she was not able to answer. It was a complete blunder. While BBM is very responsive to every question, he's also very good in laying the predicate. I think that's the training. Both his, what his education is evident in the manner he's answering, diba? Like I said, if you will notice, lalo-lalo na pag hindi masyadong time pressured, he gives a history of the topic first, and then he will proceed to answer the question based on what he had laid. And you're right, laying the predicate type. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Donna Fe, it's a woman's choice. The women's lives are more important than church theology, although he respects the Catholic Church. Yan ba yung stand niya? Then I like it. It's very progressive. Kasi for me, personally, the Catholic stand should be different. Kumbaga, people assume that everybody looks at abortion in the same way that the Catholic Church looks at abortion. It's not necessarily so for every person. It's like assuming that people look at divorce the same way the Catholic Church would look at divorce, that it is verboten. Hindi talaga pwede. I like that he opens the idea to the possibility the woman makes the choice, right? You don't let other people decide what you do with your body, which is very, very progressive. Ma'am Gemma says he said he will leave it with the family to decide on what they want to do with the fetus rather stand on abortion. Yes, like I said, consistent. Ayan, sabi ni Sir Aris, ganda ng sagot. Nung tanungin siya kung bakit di niya iboboto si Lenny Pacquiao, Lacson at Isko, sabi niya ayaw niyang siraan ang mga katunggali niya. Doon pa lang ang impact sa akin, humility and sincerity niya, the best talaga siya. I like how he keeps getting up in the morning. Alam mo yan? Ito, sabi ni Kenneth, he's pro-abortion but only for those who are victims of rape, incest, and there's a life-threatening situation. He's pro-abortion but the choice should be made by the women because it is their body, so it is their choice. Okay, it's a little more conservative pala, but still, for me, for a Catholic country, it's still very progressive. Extreme cases, sabi ni Mark Angelo Echano. Well, thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate you letting me know these things. I must have missed that part. Sabi ni Harold Del Rosario, Luminous at tambayan na lang ako manonood. Kakagulat ang pagtaas ng boses ng isang co-host sa karambola. Parang napahiya si Atty. Katon. Well, to be fair, they they were just being Kong Jonat was really being just very passionate about his stand. And if you would look very closely, if you would listen very closely to how they were answering, both of them, they're both pro BBM and they were both articulating views na to help BBM form a more cohesive communication and all that. So it's really just, kumbaga, same uh, same side but different perspectives. Sabi ni Sir Christian Lance, you guys, I really love this, how you're articulating this and you're able to explain the position that he has taken, which means that you have also taken this to heart and you understood. So sabi ni Christian Lance, ang stand niya ay based sa statistics last 2012. He wants to save women who died because of, this is botched abortions. But it's not that clear that he's against or pro-abortion. He wants to separate it from the Catholic. Well then, but like I said, if the moment you start saying you separate it from the Catholic stand, then that's already opening the door, which for me is good, ha. Uh, I'm not anti-abortion. I'm not pro-abortion either, like Roe versus Wade. No, I'm not. Well, yeah, I like the idea that Roe versus Wade put the choice with the woman. The woman determines it. The state doesn't make that choice for you. Sino nagsabi na parang matamlay daw ako? Hindi naman po. I didn't feel well. Hindi nga ako nakapasok kanina sa tambayan and I had to Zoom my karambola. I'm not even sure if I can get to karambola tomorrow, so I'll still be there by Zoom. Hindi po matamlay. Mababa lang siguro yung energy levels ko kasi I think there's something wrong with my stomach or something like that. Really, my general feeling of weakness lang. Plus, my dog is sick, so I'm a little worried about him. Harry seems to also have digestive problems, and the vet suspects that he has some kind of dengue. So we're observing him. He eats well naman, but it's taking up a lot of my concern. I'm slightly, not completely worried about him because he's a senior dog. Oh my gosh, I spent all this time explaining about my dog. Eto, Veron Nunez says the open pit mining, where he stressed that we must also look into the welfare of the people working in the mines, is so touching. Yes. Uh, it's necessary. But did you also hear his stand on mining? That most of the time the resources come from us, but we export the ore. So we have to look to help revitalize the economy. We have to look into processing our own mineral resources because we're so rich in mineral resources, and it's so environment that impact talaga yung environment because of the mining, and so we may as well make the most out of the mining industry, and that way you can also help the how do you call this, the laborers, the workers, the people who work in these mines. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Cha, kung di capable ang babae para maging ina at lalo na nakuha pa niya sa rape, sa kanya, mas okay na ipa-abort na lang kaysa masira ang buhay ng ina kasama ang anak. Uh, well done, Dan Wanoco says, I like BBM how he explained his views about foreign policy towards the two superpowers, China and the US. I think he will do the same and adopt the style of PRRD. Yun na nga eh. Doon nakikita ko that he is consistent, that he agrees with the foreign policy of Rodrigo Duterte, of the Duterte administration, in that we're no longer, di ba yung sinasabi nga niya, we should no longer be tied to certain spheres of influence, like before, pagka pro-US ka, you're also against every other country that the US is against. So ngayon, you can deal with them, on your own terms. Philippines, China, what's good for the country with regard to our relationship with China, Philippines, US, what's good for the country regarding our relationship with that one. So yes, he has taken, and without actually even saying so, he has clearly taken the same stance as this current administration. So palagay ko itutuloy lang niya pati yung how do you call this, yung stand and yung relationship with China. Sabi ni Ma'am Florisa, maaari pong dahil sa IF nyo kaya may nararamdaman kayong ganun sa tiyan. You need to add time for your eating window. Naranasan ko din po yan. Nag-stop ko sa IF at naging okay naman. Yes, ma'am. Sige, I'll take your advice into consideration. Actually, I'm nauseous but I'm not pregnant. Ano pong plan ni BBM with regard sa Bataan Nuclear Power Plant? Well, with the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, his stand has also been consistent. He is pro-nuclear energy. A lot of countries daw na have gone back to nuclear energy despite the concerns about their safety before. He said, with regard specifically to the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant, what he says is, we'll see if it is still viable. So you may take note that he's very careful about that. Kasi pag si Senator Amy naman ang tatanungin mo, sinasabi niya, there's nothing left in there, it's been cannibalized, etc. But, yes to nuclear energy. Yes to alternative energy. Like, sabi niya, the irony, for instance, in Leyte, Leyte has geothermal, and one of the biggest sources of geothermal energy is in Leyte, pero ang taas, ang mahal ng kuryente nila. So sabi niya, yung mga ganyan, we have to fix the irony in these things. Sabi ni Super Justin, late ako, inaabangan ko si Lenny sa DZRH and curious pa rin ako ano yung sasagot niya sa ICC Foreign Policy Plan for our economy since she is an economist in Amnesty International data tsaka peace talks. You mean she talks about them? Yes. Sabi ni Sir Mario, nuclear power but we are first to have in Asia but we are the last to use it if ever. Sabi ni Arthur Allen Balang, it appears na hindi tumutugma si Lenny sa website niya. She might be lacking time on learning things. Ito, sabi ni Orly Lapus, I was watching 24 Oras, that's why I'm late. Seems the network is having a change of heart. Medyo mabait kay BBM and it aired plenty of BBM's views kumpara kay ina nila and other aspirants. Well, let's face it. BBM is so far the only game in town. You mention his name, it brings up the ratings. So, di ba? Sabi ni Rain Pinebook, the Jessica Soho show is a fixed game that Lenny couldn't even win. Sana sa Sutil Weekends, so pag-usapan natin yung Marites on Eddie Patty and all. Thanks to the president dahil it's going out of the light. Marites on Eddie Patty. Eddie Patty. Eddie kayo na? The US is using that Cold War type attitude, sabi ni Ma'am John. Yes. Towards Russia and using the NATO allies, but not all approved of the US stand, and some are having second thoughts. Like Germany, BBM is right, pasay na ang Cold War. Ma'am Joylyn says, BBM's profoundness on the matters concerning the nation clearly suggests that BBM is indeed the one we should elect. He's consistent, sincere, and have utmost respect to humanity. You know what I like? What I like is this effect. If I call it the BBM effect, the bashers are just going to come and just bop me over the head with this. But there is an effect. Napansin nyo? Kasi nauuna siya sa mga interviews, no? Madalas, a lot of people want to get him on interviews. And to be fair, inuna niya kami yung mga baslupa, di ba? He, uh, yung diskurso, nagiging tungkol dun sa mga sinasabi niya. Well, at least siya, dun sa mga kandidato, na focus oops, sorry, natamaan ko, na-focus dun sa, sa mga topics. Tignan nyo, how we're talking right now. Right now, pinag-uusapan natin foreign policy, pinag-uusapan natin abortion. We're talking about we're defining what the national interest is. And we're defining it at a high level. Hindi niyo ba napapansin, kahit yung usapan natin dito, hindi tayo nagbabardagulan. And of course, may mga mention pa rin dun sa mga ina nyo. But it's a higher level discussion, and this is what I like. It's leading us up to that. He's changing the language of the campaign. Yung iba, medyo they're still mired in tired old topics of fake news. And pag tumira ka sa fake news, okay, yung ikaw yung nagkukusa, hindi ka tinatanong, ha? Pag ikaw yung nagkusa, yung dapat sa fake news, ganito, dapat i-address, ganyan. I mean, I know BBM was asked about it and he talked about it, pero yung siya mismo yung nagkusa, hindi ko nakikita yan. Si Madam Lenny, nagkukusa siya about fake news, and wow, uunahin mo yan? Kandidato ka eh. Well, para sa akin, you have a ready platform. You're a candidate for the highest position in the land. You're the vice president. You can help shape the national policy here. You can help shape the conversation. Instead, you're talking about fake news as it applies to yourself. And therefore, ano yan? Self-interest pa rin. Kaya niya pinag-uusapan ng fake news kasi feeling niya apektado siya. Hindi niya pinag-uusapan kung ano yung definition niya ng fake news. Halimbawa, sabihin niya dapat may tanggalin yung mga fake news and all that. Pero hindi niya dinidefine. And she is always blaming itong mga trolls. Fine. O sige, may trolls, ma'am. Public official kayo, public figure kayo, talagang magkakaroon kayo ng trolls. Pero yung to suggest national policy dahil ikaw ang binabash, ibang level yan. Vice President ka. First of all, as a public figure, you should be able to take it. Tignan nyo nga si BBM, walang katapusan eh. Ngayon na lang yan kumibo na paulit-ulit na kayo. How many answers do you want? Ngayon na lang yan. Pero dati, sige, either he will game the answer it, pero nakakapagod din. And besides, the conversation shouldn't be always on that one. Sure, if you want to talk about it, talk about it. Pero what about the future? You want to talk about the past? Yes, it does have a place in the public discourse. Pero, yun lang ba? What about tomorrow? What are we going to do about tomorrow? Ay, thank you kay Ma'am Maria. Ito, maganda din daw. Ping Lacson's interview straight to the point, frank, self-entitled kasi puro papog, he points sa sarili niya, and stiff, while BBM is cool, charismatic, and emphatic, both are intelligent. I agree. Well, Senator Lacson, he talks like that. I think that's partly the military training. Brevity at all costs. Kumbaga, he's a man of few words, and he takes as few words as possible to make his point. Si BBM naman, he likes to be more expansive. He likes to talk about the history of the problem first before actually tackling what his plans are on how to solve the problem. Different approaches lang po. Sabi ni Mark Besabe, BBM is so respectful against opponents, articulate both English and Filipino, can explain in front of foreign partners, Filipino first mentality, patriotic, and will continue BRRD's programs. Very clear in the separation of church and state with solution in mind and very unifying. For me, the winning part there is the unifying. That's why may lugar yung culture and art sa kanya. Kaya may lugar yung tinatawag nating national consciousness, national identity, the evolution of the national identity. Kaya siya lang yung nakakabanggit nun kasi yun yung purpose nun. The study of history, awareness of culture, the pursuit of the arts, all of these help evolve national identity. And having a national identity is unifying, or at least yung pagka continuously ini-evolve natin tapos aware tayo sa pagka-Pilipino natin, then we start to care about other Filipinos. Nafo-form yung ano, yung konsepto ng bayan. Okay, just to make it, to actualize it, to give you how it works, no? Kung napapansin nyo, sino ba dito yung mga nagda-drive, no? Yung mga public utility drivers, some of them are so, how do you call this, undisciplined, na willing silang magsakay o magbaba kahit hindi sasakayan o babaan. Kahit nasa gitna ng kalye, magsasakay, magbababa ng pasahero and all that. They don't see the inconvenience to other people. Wala silang awareness na yung action niya affects others. Wala siyang connection, wala siyang feelings for yung kapwa-tao. Samantalang, Filipino trait yan, pakikipagkapwa-tao. Diba, with what is kapwa, diba, the otherness, the togetherness, the being part of a whole or part of society, part of being a community. It's very Filipino, and yet we're also sometimes very un-Filipino. Pagka tumitigil ka, pagka nagtatapon ka ng basura doon sa kalye, hindi mo nakikita na yung damage ay sa sarili mo din. Kasi bahagi ka ng isang buo. Bahagi ka ng isang bayan, isang lipunan, isang society na nadadamage dun sa pollution mo, nadadamage dun sa undisciplined action mo, and so on. Kapag merong awareness of culture, nakikita natin na nangyayari ito. Na yung mga aware sa kanilang national identity, may pride sa kanilang pagka-Pilipino, they care. They care about fellow Filipinos. They care about what they do that will affect other people in their country. So, first time na nakakita ako ng kandidato na nakikita niya yung connection ng dalawang yon. Kaya nakikita yung halaga ng pag-aaral ng sining at kultura at ating kasaysayan. Chances of are if BBM attended the so-called interview, the other presidentiables will gang up on him as always. And what's worse, the anchor will allow it. Yeah. They'll probably be making oblique references to him, or even direct references to him. And doesn't help eh. So yun na nga eh, like I said, just even by not participating, he is helping change the language of the campaign, language of campaigning. Sabi ni Ma'am Christina, he is for sustainable mining but must implement the laws to protect the environment. And he said that due to the situation caused by COVID, we must exhaust all avenues to revitalize the economy. Nax! I love how you guys are hanging on to his every word. Ito, sabi ni Ken Orbilio, parang hindi na papag-usapan ang stand ni BBM about the CPP-NPA. Well, we did ask him, but it was a short answer about the NTFL Cup in our own interview. And he said necessary. We asked him if he wanted to expand. And he's pro kasi the how do you call this, the projects of the NTFL Cup. And he said kailangan na rin tuldukan yung insurgency. Particularly the communist insurgency. So that is his stand against the CPP-NPA. Is we have to end it. But I think if I remember correctly, whole of country approach pa rin dun sa ibang mga interviews niya, whole of country approach without actually saying whole of country approach. But that, you take care of things like housing, the education and all that, so that you also address the root problems of the insurgency. Sabi ni Shaolin, sabi ni Lugaw, may mga fact daw na fake news. I know, right? Nakakalutang talaga ang utak. Yeah, that's true. Ito, sabi ni Ma'am Karen, gusto ko sana mag-comment kaninang umaga sa Karambola about Josh John at disagreeing about BBM not turning up with Jessica Soho. Na that decision of BBM na di sumipot is a statement kasi prangkahan lang. Di naman siya namimili kahit anong network pa yan. Basta matalino yung host and the writer sa line of questioning. Ang hirap kasi kay Jessica, paulit-ulit na lang para ng sirang plaka na kahit anong sagot at ilang ulit na sagutin yan about martial law, alleged pagnanakaw, they have judged the Marcos family. Like I said, even with Boss John at stand, I think it is just two sides of the same coin. they're both pro-BBM. We know that both Attorney Larry and Boss Jonat have been pro-BBM from the very start. And with Boss Jonat, they go way back. So they're both after the interests in kumbaga, the best interests of BBM's candidacy. They just disagree on that point. Boss Jonah thinks that because BBM's stand is on unity, then he makes the effort, even for people who don't like him, people who keep asking about martial law and all of that, that he must face this and go ahead and have himself interviewed. With Attorney Larry naman, which I'm slightly more inclined kasi towards, well, slightly, no, I am inclined to Attorney Larry's side, but I understand what the Kong Jonathan is trying to say. Para sa akin kasi, since BBM is already changing the language of the campaign, then he changes it a little more, di ba? No. Somebody asks for an interview and they're really expecting a yes. He says no when a yes was expected. Keep them guessing. And then, why should I? Diba? Why should he bring na naman his audience to hostile people? Para kang para kang nagpondo na rin ng campaign ng mga kalaban mo. You don't have to do that. But like I said, it's two sides of the same coin, and it's all in the interest of the BBM candidacy. Sabi ni Mr. Herrera, napaka-straightforward, honest and safe ang mga sagot ni Apo Lakay BBM. Doon pa lang makikita mo ang karakter ni BBM na di siya naninira ng ibang kandidato. Actually, hindi nga safe yung answers na. It's more like, ewan ko he's the first na tahakin talaga yung mga ganyan. Most candidates kasi, the safest thing to do is take a neutral approach. Don't be very specific. Kasi madali kang tirahin pagka meron ka ng specific, sasabihin na sa'yo na, alternative energy? Paano kung walang araw? And so on. So, what I find laughable is this. I thank you, KM Bernilio. Get well put to you and your baby dog, pang tsaa. Oh, thank you, ma'am. Yeah, tsaa tayo today. Nawala yung train of thought ko. Pero, pero that's what I like nga. He's changing it. He's changing the language of campaign. He's changing the pacing. He said, look at the caravans and how they were so successful at it. Now look at the interviews. He's still the only game in town. Everybody else is playing catch up. And you know what? Here's naalala ko na. The critics are reduced to talking about how he sometimes repeats his statements, sometimes he has to take some time to think and has to repeat a certain phrase and so on. And for me, that's okay. If that's all you can hit him with, bring it. Because it just shows that you have no criticism about his platforms. Nobody has said that, why are you taking this stand? Why are you saying that you were pro-China and pro-US at the same time? Nobody is saying that. Nobody is saying, what? What, you want to put an entire system, the entire agricultural system back? What? Nobody. They're complaining about how hinihingal siya. They're complaining about how sometimes he stutters and all that. Really? That's the best you can do? Yeah. It's either your brains are incapable of anything deeper than that, or you have really nothing against his platform. And that says a lot. Sabi ni Melchizedek, Kuan, very comfortable si BBM sa English. Sa Tagalog, siguro po siya dapat magpakadalubhasa. Makipag-usap na lang siya ng makipag-usap sa mga Batanggenyo para mahasa. Hindi lang po kasi Batanggenyo ang Tagalog. Meron din po sa Bulacan, Cavite, Laguna, Mindoro. Ay, oh, my cat. Well, okay, good night, baby. Ayun, so, you're right that he might need to work a little on being, kumbaga, na managalog siya mas madalas o mag-Filipino siya na mas madalas. It's always a good suggestion. Kaya lang pagkakanwari, kung napapansin nyo dun sa mga ilang interviews like with Boy Abunda, in English si Boy Abunda, and he will rise to the occasion, English then. Uh, but ako kasi, since linguistics major ako, I listen, and sometimes yung accent niya from studying abroad, particularly in Oxford ba siya? Oxford, ano? Uh, in Oxford, lumilitaw minsan yung accent niya. Ano lang ako. Even listening to when he speaks straight English, may lumilitaw, may instances na lumilitaw. And I just thought that it's a little grace note in everything. Okay, guys. Okay, don't freak out when there's a troll because because like I said, if the candidate looks like he's being successful, people are lauding him. He's being praised, and the critics are reduced to talking about physical things, di ba? Making insinuations. Kung yun na lang ang nagsasabi ng mga kritiko, then he is winning. And so they don't want to make him look like a winner kasi baka tumuloy-tuloy yan eh hanggang sa araw ng eleksyon. Ito, sabi ni Myra, sa UP graduate, I find it somewhat hard to share or express my political inclination on social media. Majority of my connections kasi are from UP. I get attacked, judged, and I suppose unfriended. Well, welcome to the club, but there's a UP community on FB. I think yun nga, UP alumni community, something like that. And they're a lot less like that. they're more like you and possibly me. Alright, let's talk about ABS CBN. Sabi kasi ni Driven for Life, bakit tayo kunin ng government ang dating frequency ABS CBN? Malaking bagay yun para sa gobyerno. If I'm not mistaken, then they're bidding it out. So the government also earns from that one. And kailangan rin binabayaran yan sa NTC yung fee sa paggamit ng frequency. So pinapapakinabangan. So from what I understand, naglabas po ng order ang National Telecommunications Commission at binigyan ng permiso mag-conduct ng test broadcast yung I forgot the name of the company. Company that is owned by VIllar. So they're allowed to test broadcast, not yet actual broadcast, but test broadcast na muna, which is usually the precursor to an actual broadcast and use of the frequency. So, sa madaling sabi, ni-report out po ng bilyonaryo at ng politiko na napunta na nga sa kanya yung frequency. And this is supported nga by the fact that they have already gotten permission for a test broadcast. So it doesn't necessarily mean hindi po makikinabang ang gobyerno kapag ibang gumamit ng frequency kasi binabayaran din po yan. Sabi ni, don't know the name, I like the DZRH panel interview. Ang galing, Go Lenny and Pacquiao, mag-brainstorming na kayo ngayon pa lang, lalo na sa tanong na once in your life, did you cheat? Yan. Sabi ni Emmy Kat June, thanks for always sharing your well-balanced insights. Ang dami kong natututunan and you help me see things in a more sensible way. Kahit nakakainis talaga ang nababasa ko o naririnig ko sa mga biased sources. But you know what? I think we should also give people a chance to, katulad nga na sinabi ng isa dito, we should give people a chance to have contrary opinions. Hindi naman lahat ng hindi natin inaagrihan ay kailangan hindi tayo katulad ng kabila, hindi tayo cancel culture. Ang gusto ko nga sa inyo is binabayaan nga natin sila yung they can talk, minsan nakikipagbardagulan tayo and that's also okay, but we engage, don't cancel. Yun yung I think it shows maturity. Pero kailangan din natin nakakatanggap tayo ng ibang perspektiba. Lalong-lalo na kung nakikita naman natin na iisa naman ang pakay. So halimbawa, meron nga this big deal na supposedly iba daw ang DDS and Marcos loyalists and all of that. But I think the lines are in some areas blurred and with some people it is non-existent. There are no lines. I think that if we agree in general things, there shouldn't be a fight. It's all details. And we're richer for it. The more perspectives that we see and we listen to, we tayo din nagbe-benefit yan eh kasi natuturuan tayo kung paano din maintindihan yung pag-iisip ng kabila. So we can take also their perspective into consideration para rin masagot natin sa kanila yung mga hinahanap nila. Minsan kasi meron sila talagang hinahanap. At kadalasan kahit hinahanap nila and it's staring them right in the face, they don't want to admit that it's there, that the answer is already there. Witty and Fierce BBM, what question are going to ask that has not been asked, and how many answers that have been given that have not been given before? Nothing's going to change. So why are we doing this? Diba? That's nice. O, ayan. Sabi ni Romel Picar, nabenta na nga daw, sabi ni BBM, yung mga laman ng BNP nung panahon ni FVR. Matagal ko na nga sinasabi yan sa inyo, guys, kasi people keep asking me on my wall na, oh, ano yung plans for BNPP? There is no BNPP anymore. Wala nang laman yan. What we have are probably some of the assets. So, we won't, but he's pro-nuclear energy. Ito sabi ni Gerardo Alaranya, Boss Jonat not against BBM. He's arguing on the statement of Attorney Rodriguez. Then, I think that we can all agree to disagree or whatever. Ako kasi, like I said, I'm more inclined on the part of Attorney Larry and to some extent Attorney Vic. Well, to some extent, yeah. Attorney Vic. But I completely understand Boss Jonat's concern. Kasi nga naman, he wants, the BBM has been consistent on his stand on so many things. He wants him to be consistent on the stand of national unification, national unity. Even with people you disagree with, even with people who are vehemently against you, these people are the people you're going to lead. So that's the part of BBM. Sorry, Kong Jonat. And I see the logic in both. But for me, it was still the right decision to say no at this particular time, on that particular interview. Perhaps BBM will not do that again, but at least the message has been sent. Ito sabi ni Ron, uy, passion. Basta ako natawa lang ako kanina sa eksena sa karambola. Maski ikaw nakita ko tumatawa ka rin. I wasn't laughing. It was more like I wanted to approach it a little more lightly because the passions were rising. Pero sanay naman din kami kasi sa ganun eh. Usually it's worse kapag yung inuman na and we're talking about policy ha, yung mga hindi na dapat ginawa yun. Over drinks, it gets really heated. Kaya nga, bagong style namin ngayon, pagka magkakasama kami on occasions, like sa Christmas party, talagang nilalabas muna ni Attorney Larry yung karaoke, yung videoke. Para, pagka ganon, may videoke, may kumakanta dyan sa tabi, tapos may nagiinuman, hindi masyadong tumataas yung passions about certain positions. So, hindi kami nagdidig in on our particular sides. So, sa karambola itself, you really shouldn't worry. That wasn't, it was just a passionate argument on both sides. With Attorney Larry, I noticed being deferent, or treating Boss Jonat with deference. Okay? Medyo nabigla lang yung mga tao because like I said, any spike in emotion, it causes in turn a reaction and a lot of people were reacting. I just hope that we all understand that we're just expressing different sides of the same, like I said, the same coin. It's done to death, I know. Ay, nako. Eto si Cap Max says, pero Kong Jonat is inciting to Dilawan through repetitiousness of his POV. But have you really seen any of the Dilawan pick it up? With Kong Jonat kasi it's really, why are you going to say now that Kong can air his own views? Hindi naman ganun. And I don't see BBM or anybody in BBM's camp also saying that. Like I said, they're also being consistent. Unity kung unity, but unity doesn't mean that you have to express the same opinions. yun lang nga, some people are uncomfortable na if you're part of a team, wag mo naman dalhin sa labas yung opinion mo. So, merong mga ganun yung panig. So, ako, I see all of these and I still see the logic in those various sides. It is what it is. But don't think that there was any bad blood going on or any actual fight going on. That would be tumababaw. Kumbaga, just take it for being a passionate argument. Both sides, same same concern. Sabi ni Richard, pero madaming angry reactions kanina sa karambola at gagalit kay Boss Jonat. I'm sure later on that they will, how do you call this? They will see when the passions have cooled down and we've regained our good tempers, they will see that not even Kong Jonat and Boss Larry are at odds with each other. They're just expressing different opinions, but are showing passion for defending the same person. Sabi ni LCT, funny si Conrad Banal kanina na uncomfortable but did well as usual in steering the program. More in favor of telling MSM they do not have the power they had before over people. Yun yung standard ni, ni Atty. Larry. Parang, yun, ganyan din ako. But yeah, kasi ako, I will deny them that audience. And PBM has such a huge audience now with such a high level of approval. And di ba? But there's so many people who are in the BBM bandwagon already, and there's more coming in every day. So why give that audience to your opponents? Or at least then, on this one instance, where you know that somebody is going to ambush you, yoko nga, at kami ibigay sa'yo yan. Pero, I don't know, I think lang, this is just my personal point of view, that Kong Jonat was really just trying to be the grown-up here. Because I'm clearly not sometimes. But, I think it worked out. I think it worked out well. And that whoever made that decision, I think it still worked out in the end. Sabi ni Frosty, may bagong ad daw ang Uniteam. Sige, I will check it out. At least they do good ads. Now, and I'm not saying that because I like the Uniteam. Their music videos, like especially si Inday. Hey, did you catch Inday on TikTok? Did you sumasayaw? Like an exercise program. She's so cute. Ito sabi ni Super Justin, ang daming nanood kay BBM. From your interview to other guestings of BBM, consistent na people are watching him. I know, right? It's, kasi, I know, right? Oh my gosh, how socialera. Yes, in fact, we posted that. But can you imagine, sunod-sunod na interviews and some of the questions are overlapping, but people are still avidly watching. That's amazing. Ay, naku, magkagalit na naman yung mga trolls ko. Ma'am Karen says, nabasa ko sa mga matatalino vloggers na dapat daw talaga sumipot si BBM like Duterte na walang inaatrasan kasi kumakandidato. BBM has 60% already sa survey and it's incomparable kasi hindi pa masyadong advance si Digong noon before the 2016 presidential debate. In my opinion, that debate helped Digong win kasi nilampasan niya talaga mga kalaban, displaying his wit and intelligence. Kay BBM kasi nakaranas ng ipahiya sa mga parehong tanong, plus kahit anong sagutin, BBM, forever anti-Marcos pa rin yung cause. Well, yeah, there's that. So, it's, we have to be nuanced then in approaching this problem. Sabi ni Lloyd Rivera, it's a very mature conversation sa Karambola. We, the audience, need to hear that. That's what's up. Yeah. Sometimes we have to grow up a little and understand that we will not always have the same opinions. It doesn't mean that it's hokey. It doesn't mean we don't love each other. It doesn't mean that there's no camaraderie. Parang magkakapatid lang yan eh. Di ba minsan nagbabardagulan din kayo. But in the end, it's all for the same cause. Sabi nila Kanchaw, only shows na may freedom of expression sa karambola. Well, totoo naman yon. Lower frequency should always be for government to utilize, either for broadcast or military purposes. Wag na ibigay sa mga kapitalista. I think that the strategy here doon sa sa what the president was doing, yung strategy na dito was to ensure na hindi somebody doesn't get co-opted again. Kung binigay yan, kunwari, sa gobyerno, what's to stop another administration, not saying that BBM is going to do this, it's not likely, kunwari, bigay yan sa PTV. Tapos dun sa next administration, may may naharbat na mga kongresista, senador and all that. Na, hindi, niya na yan, bigay na natin yan sa private sector para kumita naman, bigay na lang natin ibang frequency para sa PTV. It can happen, di ba? And it's a lot more stable. Kumbaga, anong gagawin? Pag kinuha yan ng another private company, ano gagawin ngayon ng ABS CBN? They can't bribe their way into getting that back because somebody else will outgun them. And I think that's the strategy there. Sabi ni Checks and Lines, OA na kung OA, naiyak ako sa, ano yan, new ad ng Unity, mahalin natin ang Pilipinas. Ay, na-excite tuloy ako. So, on that note, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay sa tambayan sa I think kasi Ma'am Sambuanga may sinasabi. Sabi niya, they are fighting for the same cause. Iba-iba lang ang approaches nila. O see, so that's a very grown-up way of looking at it. I always trust ito si Ma'am Sambuanga or Mosa Files to be the grown-up in the room because sometimes I'm not. So, ayan. Finally, sabi ni Ian, wala pang nag-a-ask kay BBM about climate change, bitin yung environment mining topic ng BA interview. I think that in general, people can't get enough of the BBM interviews. So many people want to see his views on these things. I don't even see, I see people saying, sana si Lenny naman interviewin, pero iba naman yung gusto nilang marinig doon. So, on that note, maraming salamat sa pagsubaybay. We have Karambola tomorrow, 8 to 10 ng umaga. We'll be there if only by Zoom. We'll be there and we will see you in the morning. All right? Maraming salamat. And guys, thank you very much. This has been a very good discussion. And I noticed that we have been talking largely about issues, except when somebody brings up Lenny. Sorry, she always makes me laugh. Never fails. And yeah, let's keep doing this. Yung ganito yung level ng diskurso. Of course, for entertainment, pwede pa rin naman tayo makipagbardagulan sa kabila. But for I like this. This is kumbaga a sign of more good things to come. Eto, last, sabi ni Ma'am Karen, pinakikinggan ko sa Luminous level ng mga tanong sa recent interview ni BBM pang graduate school yung mga sagutan. Imagine, Madam, like I was saying, imagine, Madam, answering sa panel na yon, you included, attorney, tapos live. Bye. Okay, maraming salamat. Uy, matulog ng maaga. And reminder, kung di pa po kayo nagpa-follow dun sa aming sa Facebook page, Luminous by Trixie Cruz-Angeles and Ahmed Paglinawan. Don't forget to follow. Kung naka-follow kayo, paki-check po. Kung naka-follow pa rin kayo, kasi mahiwaga ang panahon na ngayon sa Facebook. Kung hindi nyo po kami nakikita sa inyong mga newsfeed, then go to the page, unfollow, refresh the page, follow again, then put us in your favorites. That should fix it. Pero once naka-follow uli kayo, react, which is click like or whatever, and also comment as often as you can. Dadalas na po kami sa newsfeed nyo. In the meantime, yung hindi pa po nagsusubscribe, subscribe na po tayo uli. Subscribe na po sa ating YouTube channel. Okay? Ano daw yun? Nakita na naman. Like po and subscribe. Sabi ni Ma'am Zoya, thank you po. Pa-like naman please. Sabi ni Ma'am Zoya, thank you. Dami natin now. Oo nga, kasi at nakaabot tayo ng 6,000 active viewers. Max! Thank you, everybody. And before you say good night, guys, ingat pa rin dyan sa labas. Please wear your face masks, wash your hands often, and social distancing po tayo. We don't want to lose any of you, and we don't want you getting sick. So please, have a good rest. Keep yourselves healthy and stay the heck away from COVID. Okay, ingat-ingat po tayo dyan sa labas. Maraming salamat po. Oy, para dun sa mga fully inspired, ingat-ingat po. We want you strong and healthy sa Mayo. Para sa kapakanan ng bayan, kailangan ko bumoto kayo. That's really But please, okay, seriously, take care of yourselves. We'll see you tomorrow on Karambola. Maraming salamat po.